Hello and a very warm welcome to Sansad TV. You're watching Viewpoint. I'm Rausan Pereira. Well, the government is sending, in fact, few of the delegations have already started leaving India. 7 delegations across the world to 32 countries to send out India's message, a message that needs to be sent out after what Pakistan has done time and again. The delegations are going across the world to expose Pakistan and Pakistan's lies. I have with me a very special guest on the program today, the leader of one of those delegations, delegations number 1, Mr. Panda, Member of Parliament, Lok Sabha, and also National Vice President of the BJP. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Pereira.
Mr. Panda, let's first talk about the objective really of the, the delegations that are going abroad. What is the key objective? What is the key agenda really as far as the delegations are concerned?
So, I would put it as follows. Modern warfare is not only about the battlefield, it is about taking the message across. And here 2 aspects are important. Our Prime Minister Modi ji over the last 11 years has done a phenomenal job going around the world, building rapport, building friendships with some of the most powerful leaders across the world. It has changed India's stature. Our economic growth as the fastest growing economy now for many years has changed the world's perspective about us. Pakistan has been an irritant for a long time, and its army is the one that does these misadventures. Many in Pakistan, the people, business, civil society, they want peace. But the army controls the country, has a vested interest in conflict, and they do these misadventures knowing full well that they can't compete with us. Same playbook, and what they do is they commit some atrocity through their proxies, like at Pahalgam, terrorist attack. Then when India retaliates, first they start screaming their innocence. Same pattern. After Mumbai also they had said they are innocent. Where is the proof? Few months later, when all the proof comes out, then they acknowledge. Then they escalate the tensions, and they use that escalation to try and get the world's attention, because the world has started ignoring Pakistan. And in getting simultaneously they beg for intervention from other countries. India has proven that we are in a totally different orbit compared to Pakistan. During time of Kargil, our economy was 7 times bigger than Pakistan. During Balakot, it was 9 times bigger. Today, it is 11 times bigger. Of course, we have much more staying power. We could have continued this, but we also have to be reasonable, because protracted hostilities causes investor sentiment to worry. Now, the battlefield part of the war has been decisively in our favor. All these fake claims Pakistan has made is not backed up with any satellite imagery, no proof, no corroboration. Anything India has said is backed up with proper satellite imagery, whether the Noor Khan airbase was bombed, whether some other facility was hit. It's clear proof is there. But beyond the battlefield, we have to take the message to the world, and this is what I meant by shifting from the urgent to the important.
Right.
The urgent was the flare-up, the hostility. We have won that part. But more important for us is the important. That means there's no urgent flare-up. But see, the world recognizes Pakistan for what it is. It's the epicenter of terrorism. Everybody knows that. That's where Osama bin Laden, the world's most infamous terrorist in history, was found. But they also have other things on their mind. There is a war going on in Ukraine. There is a war going on in Gaza. There is a trade reset happening all over the world. Our job is to go and remind the world that they should remember what they know about Pakistan. The good thing is, the world, including the West Asian countries to which my delegation is going, they consider Pakistan a problem child, and they consider India as a hope for the world, one of the big economic engines. We have a track record of inclusivity, of non-violence. We need to remind the world of this, that they have a vested in, because any disruption to India's economic growth, any flare up, any hostility, it's also a loss for these countries because they have increasing trade with us. They don't have anything to lose with Pakistan.
True.
So it is a point to remind them and to say that, look, you must stay focused on this issue of changing Pakistan's systemic incentives, not to enter into these misadventures every now and then.
Absolutely. Now, let me take a point that you raised forward with you, the victim card that is played by Pakistan time and again. And this is something that you mentioned in your opening remarks as well. So, Pakistan time and again claims that it is also a victim and not really someone who perpetrates terror. So, how do you counter that? How do you, take this message across as well?
Very simple. If you raise snakes in your backyard, they will bite you also. The snakes that you raise for hitting at India, they are in your backyard. You are feeding them, you are training them, you are funding them. They will bite you also. This has been clear for a very long time, for many decades. See, the reality is Pakistan has a false claim that it has an existential threat from India. And that's why in the past, since they couldn't beat us conventionally, they lost so many wars, they were indulging in these proxy terrorism to sort of balance the powers. Now, the reality is that since they went nuclear, they should have no such issues. But unlike other countries who have gone nuclear, which has led to détente, Pakistan misuses its nuclear capability for nuclear blackmail. One important thing that has happened in the last 11 years is under Prime Minister Modi, that bluff has been called. Because the world used to get alarmed every time Pakistan did this misadventure. But we have proved with the surgical strikes, with the air strikes during Balakot, and especially this time, that there is plenty of room between retaliation and the nuclear threshold, and that Pakistan can be made to pay a very heavy cost without ever there being a nuclear risk. Now, the message that needs to be sent to the rest of the world is that Pakistan has a history of doing this. And so, let me say, I mentioned that after the Mumbai attacks, immediately they said the same thing, where is the proof, we are not involved. I can tell you from my own personal experience. I have had many experiences of track 2 around the world. And with Pakistan, I have probably participated in 24 track 2 dialogues over the years, and I got frustrated and lost interest because they have the same pattern. Every time we would meet, some terrorist attack would have happened on Indian soil or on an Indian consulate in Afghanistan or somewhere. They would start by saying, no, we haven't done this, where is the proof, show us. And we'd say, look at your track record. They'll say, yes, we were bad earlier, just like their defense minister has said on international TV. Yes, we used to do all these bad things, but now there is no proof. Now, 6 months later, whenever we used to have the next round of dialogue, proof would have come out about that atrocity. So they would say, yes, that was us, but the latest one which has just happened, that is not us, you prove it. So, look, we are done with seeing the same movie again and again, and the world has also understood it. And we need the world to be interested and engaged in systemic pressure on Pakistan, not just when there is a flare-up, but during normal times as well, so that it stays normal.
This brings me to my next question, Mr. Panda. Pakistan has been exposed time and again. And we've all seen that over the years. Pakistan's lie has been called out. We've given proof, be it the 26/11 or any of the other attacks that the Pakistanis have really carried out. What's going to change this time around? We're going to expose them once again. What do you expect or what do you see changing?
That's a very good question actually, and it's worth asking. So, what has changed? Let's understand what has changed so far. So, remember when Mumbai happened, we didn't do anything. We were caught just wringing our hands and not doing anything. The world saw a very helpless India.
Just if I may add, we sent out a few dossiers, to other countries and to pointing out Pakistan
but
did
the
this,
world
etc.
saw India as helpless. The world saw India as victims, but as a helpless victim. Since then, the new normal has gradually been put into place, brick by brick by brick. One very important aspect I have already mentioned, that the nuclear bluff has been called.
Correct.
Second, very important aspect of the new normal, that we will extract a huge cost from Pakistan every time it does something. In the past, they used to get away with no cost. Now, the nuclear bluff has been called and there are severe damage to Pakistan by the Indian forces. So, two things have happened. But we need to change the systemic incentives. As I told you, my experience with many Pakistani businessmen, civil society, they want peace, but the generals don't want, because they have a disproportionate share of that country's resources and they don't want to give it up. How will it change? Now, they don't care that Pakistan is going down so badly. They don't care that India is growing so rapidly, fastest growing economy, and Pakistan is a laggard. The differential is changing every year. They don't care. They're putting their ex-prime ministers in jail. They have executed their ex-prime ministers. They don't care. So, your question is very important. How do you reform such a recalcitrant, bad player?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, the difference is a whole of government approach. Now, what does that mean? There is water, there is economic sanctions, there is trade sanctions and people-to-people restrictions. So, all of this will start putting pressure on Pakistan in a very strong way. Now, Pakistan used to have trade with India through third-party routes. Those are getting stopped. Pakistani ships and Pakistani crews used to have access to India. Those are getting stopped. We are suddenly seeing what a large number of Pakistanis had visas to be in India and stay here illegally, have families. All that is getting stopped. The water will pinch at some point. Now, all of this is going to lead to gradual increase, ratcheting up of the pressure, whereas the army is deeply unpopular in Pakistan, and that's why they do these periodic misadventures. But when the cost of these misadventures becomes far more, earlier it used to be zero, now it is a very substantial cost. Going forward, it will be even more substantial, and not just in terms of bombings, but in terms of economic pressure. And the way to change Pakistan is to change their systemic structure, their incentives and disincentives for doing something.
Absolutely. Talking about the economy, talking about how India's economic heft has really grown over the last few years, fifth largest economy, now going to be the third largest economy very soon. So, how much of an impact does that play, or how much of an impact do you see geopolitics and geoeconomics having on the entire situation?
That's a very relevant point. See, we have to understand geopolitics. Every country has their own national interest and their own geopolitical interest. We have friendships. Prime Minister Modi especially has built a lot of friendships across the world. Look at the Middle East and look at West Asia. Now, Pakistan itself has destroyed its minorities. It has decimated the Hindu, Christian, Sikh and Buddhist populations. It has destroyed places of worship of the minorities. And look at West Asia, look at the Middle East. These are Islamic countries, and yet Indian diaspora is flourishing there. Pakistani diaspora is not considered prime diaspora there. In fact, if you look at every year during Hajj, the largest number of incidents involving begging, arrests for begging and arrests for thieving have to do with Pakistani pilgrims at Hajj. So, there is a different perspective about them. So, we have a totally different relationship now with the Middle East, with West Asia, with East Asia, with Southeast Asia, with Europe, with America. That has changed a lot. So, sum and substance, I am going to say, is that, again I will repeat, the world sees India as an opportunity and the world sees Pakistan as a problem. Our growth, as during COVID, the whole world suffered huge setbacks. India has done far better than most of the world, and all of these countries have stakes in India because of our growth and because of bilateral growth in trade, and this is going in our favor.
Absolutely. Let's shift focus now, Mr. Panda, and let's talk about the delegation that you are leading. Let's talk about the composition of the delegation first and foremost. I mean, cutting across party lines, I think that's a major shift in the way we are going to be carrying out diplomacy. Now, is it going to be one-off, or is this going to be a trend that is going to be set, is something that we need to see? But cutting across party lines, usually diplomacy is limited to diplomats and the foreign policy experts, etc. But now we have politicians, we have a foreign policy expert or a former diplomat traveling with the delegation as well, seasoned politicians such as you, Ghulam Nabi Azad and others who are making up the delegation, and young MPs as well who are going to get this beautiful opportunity.
The most important messaging is actually something that is non-verbal. It is, this India is a united India. Now, we are not just the largest democracy today, we are the largest democracy in the history of humankind, and we are very diverse. And in this diversity, we have this unity of, as you said, the delegations cut across party lines. But it's not just the polity which has got united. All across Indian society, you see a unity. You also see our representation represents the best of India. We represent all the different regions of India. We speak different languages. We represent different religions. There is enormous diversity in the faiths that people practice in all these delegations that you see. This is the message of India. This is the India for thousands of years people from all over the world wanted to come to for learning, for spirituality, for making their fortunes. And once again, this new resurgent India represents that iconic stature. And so, yes, when we take this message as a united India, especially cutting across party lines, it has a very powerful message. Now, of course, in the normal routine, diplomacy is done by diplomats, and as I said, under Prime Minister Modi, and he himself has personally slogged day in, day out, grueling schedules of travel to build that rapport with world leaders. But this messaging which goes, we are not going to be just meeting government, we'll also meet other opinion makers, we'll meet some media, we'll meet think tanks, academicians. We'll also meet the diaspora, because our diaspora has become very powerful, and Prime Minister Modi has leveraged the diaspora as never before. So, after our visit, the messaging should continue, and nobody better than our very influential diaspora to keep that message ongoing.
You mentioned about the country is united. For a change, it's great to see the political class united as well, because of late we've seen a lot of squabbles, a lot of infighting within the political class, really, as far as different parties are concerned, because they are looking at political gain at the end of the day. As far as Operation Sindoor and the aftermath, we've seen most of the political, of course, there have been a few incidents here and there, but otherwise most of the opposition members as well have been on board, and we are standing together as one. That sends out a message to the people of this country also, doesn't it?
Yes. Look, in such a diverse, large democracy, there will always be domestic issues on which we will have differences of opinion. But there shouldn't be, there traditionally hasn't been, and even now there won't be any difference of opinion when we represent India to the world. Many of the important leaders who are on these delegations have made it very clear that they are not going there as party representatives. They are going there as representatives of Bharat, of India, and that itself is a very powerful message. Now, I am not going to comment on what some opposition leaders might have said or not, but you can see this tremendous unity across the spectrum, and everybody is commenting on it.
And it's pleasant to see this.
It's a very good thing, but it's also across society, and it's because this new normal is not something that has suddenly happened. Remember, when the surgical strikes were first done, some people questioned it. When the air strikes at Balakot were done, some people questioned it. Now, even today what has happened is, due to this resetting of the approach of our response over the last decade, nuclear bluff has been called, Pakistan has been made to pay a cost, and people have realized that this, remember, in his first year as Prime Minister Modi tried very hard to have rapprochement with Pakistan. He invited the Pakistani Prime Minister for his oath taking. He went to Pakistan. He appealed to Pakistanis across the board that let us jointly fight poverty. Now, every time he did that and some politicians responded to him, the Pakistani army immediately got its proxies into the act and did some atrocity. So, the country has been prepared and saw that we have tried very hard for peace, but if the other side does not respond, we will do whatever necessary to secure our country, to secure our 1.4 billion people. And so, it's a progressive development over 10-11 years that the country has realized that every option has been tried. Now, we must be united in our stand.
The messaging is very clear. This is the new normal. If you try anything against us, we're going to hit you hard, and that's been the message right from April 22nd. Now, coming back to the delegation, Mr. Panda, the 4 countries that you're visiting as well, that is Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait and Algeria, all very important countries, and the bilateral relationship as well, with these countries and India has only grown. So this visit or the delegation's visit to these countries becomes far more important, doesn't it?
Yes, and our relations with especially this part of the world has transformed dramatically. Many of these countries have given our Prime Minister their highest civilian honor. These countries are very open about cherishing the Indian diaspora. Nobody could have imagined the kind of transformation these countries are going through. Look at Saudi Arabia, what a transformation it is going through.
Once upon a time, they were very close to Pakistan. Look at them today.
Look, these are Islamic countries, but these are examples of Islamic countries who are, progressive. Look at the transformation that's happening in some of these countries where we work on a win-win basis. Pakistan is a country that is, unfortunately, it's not a real country in the sense that it's not run by its elected representatives. It is run by the generals. So that's a very different situation. Now, countries can have different political setups, but if the political setup in charge of the country doesn't care about the country going to the dogs, as long as they get some benefit out of having a conflict with India, that's a very different situation. But look at, I think the diaspora has doubled in recent years in the Middle East and in West Asia, our diaspora. Temples are being built, cultural connections are being built. So there has been a complete transformation in the last decade, and that is to our advantage.
How do we build on this? Ms. Panda, delegations of course will go there, will do their work, will try and interact with various facets of society, I'm sure. But how do we build on this?
So, Pakistan has long been understood to be the bad boy of the pack. It is the bad boy among even Islamic countries who are all otherwise very rational and working very closely with India. It is the bad boy among the international grouping of nations because it has misused aid money that it has received from the West for, it hasn't developed itself. Its education is in a shambles, its infrastructure is in a shambles. It has continued to support terrorism. So the world is fed up with Pakistan and they consider it a problem child. And I suppose they are all grappling with how to deal with it. And one of the problems they had in their mind is that this is one of the bad actors in the world which has nuclear capability, and that used to be a problem. But as I said, that narrative itself has been reset already. So now the question is, how do you then change their incentives to get better? It all has to do with, this misadventure having cost them a lot, and the army is not going to be able to turn around Pakistan's economy just because it has got a 1 billion aid from an international agency. You have to understand, in India today, there are scores of small companies which raise far more than $1 billion every year.
Right.
And so it's a totally different orbit that we are in. If you look at the transformation that has been taking place, our situation has been continually improving. But we have still been vulnerable to these horrible attacks. We just have to stay the course and keep turning the pressure on through non-military means as well. Remember, one very important aspect. This time around, literally only 2 countries came out into the open to aid Pakistan. Yes. In the past, it used to be more. I can give you names of some other countries who even 4-5 years ago used to openly support them. This time they have kept neutral because India has taken a step of economic diplomacy also, which has played in our favor.
So multifaceted approach is what we've taken around this time around, and that's what's worked in our favor. Before I let you go, Mr. Panda, if you can, please do share with us your meetings that you had with the Foreign Secretary and the diplomatic community about what the message is going to be and anything that you can share on that front.
Those briefing meetings are happening in stages. Some of the groups have left already and they've already had a briefing meeting. Our meeting is coming up, and we will go through the details and prepare and discuss amongst ourselves so that we have clear messaging. Of course, I have been engaged with foreign policy issues, and as you mentioned, many of the members in my delegation are very seasoned politicians. Whether it is
Mr. Shringla is also part of the delegation.
Shringla is part of the team. There is Asaduddin Owaisi. There are many younger and very bright members, and representing, as I said, all communities, all regions. So I'm very clear that irrespective of what you see in the media and in the public discourse, in the private discourse, there is no doubt whatsoever that everybody sees Pakistan as a bad boy and a problem. And everybody sees more of a light at the end of the tunnel today, because some of the bluffs that Pakistan was trying has been called. And they see this reset of the normal, but the new normal has gradually been reset over the last decade. And that is, keep in mind, earlier than the last decade, we used to suffer terrorist attacks virtually every week.
Yes, yes.
Now, terrorist attacks are few and far between.
Absolutely.
Now, for 5-6 years, Jammu and Kashmir has enjoyed tremendous prosperity and returned to normalcy. This is a horrible terrorist attack which happened, but it came after a pretty long gap. So now this gap has to be made not just longer, but permanent, and that is the focus that we all have.
Absolutely. Mr. Panda, thank you so much for joining me on Viewpoint and sharing your views and perspectives really on the delegation and what is the objective and what we're trying to get out of the delegations that are going all around the world. Much appreciate you spending time here on Sansad TV. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best.
Well, that's it in this edition of Viewpoint. This is Frank Rausan Pereira signing off.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.